All right, troops.
Hello and welcome to That Mental Ginger Show with your host Andrew Durning, aka the Mental Ginger. Well, my faithful followers, you can see I've actually got a decent background now for a change. It's because I updated the tech, updated the system, because I had to, because we've got a king in our midst, in our presence. We have Fabian Josef Janssen, otherwise known as King Fabbs, one of the most talented musicians I've had the fortune of hearing. All hail to the king.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thanks for so much for coming on. What do you prefer? What is to call you by the stage name, King Fabbs or Fabian?
Fabbs is cool.
Fabbs is cool. Then
Yeah,
man, everything about you just screams cool. I mean, the hairstyle, the chilled back attitude, the one syllable name, you know, like Prince, just Fabbs.
Yeah,
loving it.
Thank you.
Absolutely loving it.
Thank you.
So, Fabs, what I like to do is to get my guests to tell us about their origin stories, because if there's one thing we all have in common is that we all have an origins. So, Fabs, for my faithful followers, please tell us your origin story.
My origin story. Well, I currently live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I was also born here. Born in 1994. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with my my mom and my sister, and my musical journey started when I was in grade 7 in 2007. And the first instrument I ever played was the alto sax in school band. So I was a school band nerd, of course. And that same year, I got my first guitar for Christmas. So I finally expressed my interest in rock music. So my mom got me a guitar, a red Fender Strat. I still have it. It's like sitting right there. Yeah, from there, I just kind of started building up on some other instruments. So as I continued on through school band and got into high school, I started percussion. Along the way, I picked up bass guitar as well and started doing some drum set. And then in 2013, I joined marching band. It seems to be a thing that like a lot of people misjudge. I think it is such a rewarding experience and actually changed my life completely. So out here, there's like a couple marching bands here in Calgary, and yeah, I did a lot of years in that, and now I actually teach those groups. So I'm a drumline instructor. I've been doing drums for I think 7 years now. I've been teaching. So yeah, and then my solo journey as a pop punk artist started in when the pandemic pretty much hit, 2020. That's when I decided like I really want to start making my own music and just start rolling with that. So I started writing a lot, and then I managed to release my first EP in 2021 in July, and followed that up with a single in December, and here I am now.
A very good summary of an origin story. What and yeah, definitely wouldn't thought of you as a 90s kid. I thought you were younger than that. What?
Oh, yeah?
You've just got that youthful look about you, man. What just that?
Thank you so much.
Also explains why you're so chill. Like Canadians are always so chill. I love Canada. I really want to get back out there. Like before I leave this plane.
Yeah, I like Canada too.
yeah, definitely. Like, you can't beat the Canadians sometimes. What the Americans have tried, but they just can't do it. Just can't beat you.
No one does it like Canadians.
No, definitely not. Well, one of my favorite bands is Nickelback. What? But Canada's finest.
I don't get the whole thing where like so many people dislike Nickelback. I think they're great.
Listen
to them my whole life.
Far Away was the first dance at my wife and I's wedding.
Oh, nice.
Because that was the first band that we realized we both liked. And me being like the sappy kind of get that I was, so when we were going out, like I just dragged her on in the living room floor, like in my house, and just slow dance for it Far Away. And it was just at that point I knew it's like, I'm going to marry this girl, and this is going to be our first dance.
Oh,
and
nice.
That's what happened. But so, tell us about like going from like the marching band to the pop punk kind of side. What were the influences around the kind of pop punk? What were your favorite bands?
When I first got interested in like pop punk, so like, well, the band that actually like completely changed me into like what I am was Green Day. So I remember the moment, like the time, like the house I was living in at the time. I remember I was on MSN Messenger, if anyone knows what
Yes, I
that is.
remember that. Oh,
I'd be
so
there talking to a couple friends, and then um, I'd be listening to music on YouTube, right? So then, like in those days, I was listening to like Usher and like Ludacris and stuff like that, like all great artists, right? But I
yeah.
was like very hip hop, rap, like heavy, because I kind of thought I had to be because of
Mm,
my I don't know what it is, just like society and like skin color, like everyone thought like yeah, you need to be listening to rap music and stuff like that. But
mm.
like I'm sitting at home and like I see this recommendation for a song called American Idiot, and I gave it a shot, and then it blew my mind. I was like, this is incredible, like I love this. So then like I started listening to even more Green Day, like the whole American Idiot album, because like it was, I think it was '04, and it was like
Mm.
blowing up because it's like one of their biggest albums. um so yeah, I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole there, and I'm listening to all this Green Day, and I discover Metallica and Iron Maiden and like all these other great bands, and I'm like, why has rock music been robbed from my life so far? Like, nah, man, I love this. So,
And you are
that's
speaking my language. You're speaking my language.
yeah, yeah, like
Because I was a fan like Green Day like back in the 90s. Because I'm a bit older than you. I'm 87. Well, I
mhm,
was a late 80s, but technically classed as a 90s kid.
yeah,
Well, because I was only 3 years of the 80s. So what would I know?
yeah,
I basically put myself through most of the 80s.
yeah, yeah,
So when Green Day came out, I was very much kind of into it. And then when American Idiot, well, it finally kind of exploded. Well,
yeah,
after they just brought out their greatest hits, and I was like, that's such a mood. Like you just bring out your greatest
yeah,
hits, they think you're done, and then you go, oh, but wait, there's more. And
yeah,
what an album it was to go out. I remember listening to that on my CD Walkman at my very first skill seeker job.
yeah,
Like just bobbing my head away, thinking I was the ticket with my Limp Biscuit hoodie, like this wee
yeah,
kid with
yeah,
like big slick back hair, thinking I was like Danny Zuko for grease, where it was
yeah.
just loads of grease. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
But
Literally,
yeah,
yeah. And like
oh
Liberty
man.
spikes, people had Liberty spikes, the spikes all around their head, man.
Oh, I definitely tried to do the good Charlotte spikes with the
Yeah.
big like lifestyles, which is the
Oh
famous
yeah,
spike
yeah.
style. Well, I
Yeah.
really tried to grow my hair out like that, but then I lost a
Yeah.
bet to my dad in a football game, and I had to shave my head, and I was like, oh damn. So that was that. That
Speaking of
dream.
good, sorry.
No, sorry, it was just my dream was crushed at that point. I wanted to try and grow the hair that long, but it just didn't
Oh
work out.
yeah.
Didn't work out.
Yeah.
So uh, for for the audience that haven't heard your music, first of all, I must say it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you've not heard this guy play, this guy can jam.
Thank you.
What seriously, like you are such a skilled guitarist.
Thank you.
And I can see the links with I know you were just recently on John Vaz show. Well,
Yes. Yeah.
and he's a saxophone player as well.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems to be something about like some of the coolest guys that I've met that just play the saxophone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems to be that thing where they're just like so laid back, and it's like, yep, I played and I think it was an sax alto as well that he played.
Yeah. Yeah. Alto
So
sax. Yeah.
yeah, I get
Mhm.
myself mixed up with that. I used to be a music kid, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
past life. But yeah, so tell my audience about your EP. Like, give it a good plug. Talk about like your favorite tracks, your recording process, all that stuff.
Okay. Well, I always like talking about my my writing process. I just like love digging deep on like what other artists do and like with their writing process. Like everybody's kind of different with what they do. Well, like what I do, first and foremost, um, I take note of all my ideas. So like any instrumental idea, lyric idea, no matter how good or bad I think it is. Like I always make sure I remember something when I like it, right? And like ideas just kind of pop in my head at any random moment. So whatever I'm doing in that moment, I will stop doing what I'm doing and I will do something to record it so I remember it for later, so I can possibly turn it into a song. Literally, I will get up in the middle of the night sometimes if something pops in my head, and I will make a quick voice memo, whatever it is, and like to remember it so I don't forget it. Like if I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and like just something hits me and I'm like, oh man, I gotta remember this before I go back to bed, like
Mm,
which is kind of annoying, but
that's definitely an artist thing. I remember when I wrote a parody album to raise money for a kids theatre school for kids with special needs, and I
yeah.
just remember like lying in bed some nights at 3 in the morning, something would just pop in your head, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to like casually like get my phone, like and
Yeah.
type a wee note on it without the light hitting the wife and waking her up. It
Yeah.
would always would, and she'd be like, "Just go to sleep," and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't not write this down. I need to
Yeah.
write it down."
It's so
It's
important.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, because that wee one what nugget could be something that unlocks a full set of potential. Did you find that with your writing process?
Yeah, that's exactly why I take note of it, right? Because it's like maybe it doesn't spark something big in that moment, but like later on when I go back, like now it's starting something even bigger. Maybe it leads to another idea. So that's why, like, never discredit like any of your ideas, right?
Yeah.
And then like beyond that in my writing process, like when I am starting to turn something into a song, I generally write guitar parts first. It's just like kind of where I gravitate to. Like I always write a rhythm part, like get like a just stock chord progression in the song that I'm feeling, and then usually like some people always like I think people like to write lead parts when they're kind of almost done the song because you should like make lead parts fit in, but like I'll write a lead part right away and I'll change it later if I want to, right? Um, the yeah, basically from there like I write instrumental first, so like I'll write a whole song fully instrumental, and then I add words later. Um, I find it very interesting that some people can like write a song with all the words and like no no like chords or anything to it. Like they'll just write all the words down. I guess essentially they like
Mm,
writing a poem. But like some people are
yeah.
like, oh, I wrote this song, and it's like there's no chord progression, no notes. I'm like, wait, is this a song?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's different. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's because of what I think. It's depends on what your skill set specifically is. For example, like you're really into your music, your guitar, so your process
Mhm.
is getting the chords down and then having the lyrics to go with it. When I was
Yeah,
in the bands, I was a singer, and I would always kind of if I had like because I'd done acting and spoken word and poems, it was that kind of thing where I would write something down, get it out, and be like, right, this is the
yeah,
idea for a song. Well, if you guys
mhm.
have anything that you've just been playing or working on, then we just maybe have a wee jam, and
Yeah,
sometimes it would just kind of mesh together that way. So I
yeah,
think that's always kind of what it is. But I would always
mhm.
feel bad for the drummer because they always seem to be like at the tail end of it all every time. It was like either if the guitarist had it first, or the singer had it first, or the writers had it first. It was always
Yeah,
the drum at the end going, oh, I can do a beat. I was just like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, guys, I feel so sorry for you. I really
Yeah.
do.
You see, you remind me like because what I also love about my writing process, like I am I've been doing like drums for like a lot of years, so it's like writing a drum part is no problem. And it's like I always write my when I'm making a demo, I just use MIDI drums just so I can make it like a full track. Um, but like I always know what I want to write. Like writing drums is never an issue. I know know exactly what I want for like a drum fill and like certain patterns. Like um, it's like I usually never start a song with like a drum set pattern. I always just make the drum set pattern fit in. But like
Mm,
it's never an issue with the process I go through.
yeah.
So yeah.
So do you play all your instruments yourself like, at first, and then bring in guys to kind of help out, or are you basically Prince? You are like a one man band.
uh, like almost. So now I'm gonna tell you about my producer Brennan Kennedy. He's also my good
Mm.
friend, and he's someone I've actually been teaching with like in the marching band world.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, like I met him in 2015. He taught me for 2 years, and then we started teaching together ever since. And then that's when I started to learn about him and get to know him more. And then learned he was a producer. He's like a really really good producer here. He produces at a studio called OCL Studios out here in
Mm.
Alberta. And one of the biggest bands that he produces for is Brett Kissel. Brett Kissel's a huge country artist here, yeah, in
Nice.
Canada,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I feel like I'm so lucky because I've like crossed paths with Brennan, and so I write all my music all myself, like all the parts, and then like when I'm good to like get it done, I go with Brennan to the studio, and then he'll play drums because like drums is his specialty, and he's just like way better at studio drumming and drumming in general than I am. So like he'll record the drums, and then like I'll record everything else. But like we literally just need like the two of us. He might bring in an assistant to record drums to help him on the soundboard, just because I don't know the soundboard as well as they do.
Mm.
So he'll bring the assistant in to get like the drums recorded, and sometimes I'll play guitar with while he's drumming too, just so we can kind of just like jam together. Feels better when you're recording, um, and then yeah, after that like it's just like guitars and vocals to record after that. So then yeah, it's just me and Brennan pretty much almost the whole entire way.
Yeah. Because for anybody that is not aware of there were some of the top talent kind of promotions gigs that were going on, and I had the pleasure of listening to the King.
Yeah. Yes.
What that gig got you. And I remember looking at it first, I was like, there's only two of you. How is this going to work? And not only did it work, you smashed it, man. Like you were
Oh, thank
absolutely
you.
amazing. I just
Yeah.
remember sitting and I'm like, this is what you really want. You know, you see like the only artists I can think of as an example of this is Beyonce, where it's like 25 different people have wrote like 3 lines of her work or whatever. But then
Yeah.
you get guys that, like yourself, the Freddie Mercury's or Prince, and they basically write and do everything. What maybe
Yeah.
have, like you said, your producer comes and helps a bit with the drums.
Yeah.
What I always find that's the best music that I gravitate to. What and it always seems to be in the rock genre. I've never really
Yeah.
heard like a pop or hip hop or R&B one where it's really just been it's me.
Yeah.
What there
Yeah.
always seems
Yeah.
to
I
be like
know. Yeah.
there always seems to be like 20 different people around just throwing everything into this pot. And
Yeah.
and do you find that have you ever worked like with more kind of people like for more collaborations, or has it always just been you and your producer?
So I mean, so far, yes. Like, I mean, like, I'm still sort of getting started as like as a music artist, but like I'm building my network. I'm getting to know a lot more people, and
Mm.
like there's some people I've reached out to do collaborations, and like some are sort of starting to happen. So I'm like, I kind of getting my feet with collaboration world, but yeah, definitely something I want to get in there, and I think that's something that like I'm gonna do a lot more of this year. Um, and as I just try to build my network and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's definitely working for you, man. Like, I've seen some of the connections that you're making so far, and
Hmm.
what you're what it's hard not to connect with you because you are such a sound and kind of down to earth guy.
Oh, thank you.
And that's really refreshing, especially in an industry where the tagline is "the ego has landed."
Yeah.
That you have someone that's a bit more humble and respectful, and willing to give back, what as well as help what for helping others. And then it comes around to help yourself. So I really admire like your process and how you work.
Yeah.
So we'll
Thank you.
circle back to the marching bands and teaching in the marching bands. But
Hmm.
what specifically drove you towards teaching?
Well, like what you just said, giving back. That's like my whole big thing. So like, in the world of marching bands we have out here, we're like a big family. Like there's like so I'll name all the bands here. There's the Calgary Roundup Band, the Calgary Stetson Show Band, the Calgary Stampede Show Band. Um, there's this case of this high school that used to be called Bishop Grandin. We cannot call it Bishop Grandin anymore because the person that Bishop Grandin was a very bad person, like
Oh,
a racism story behind it. So like they took the name off the school. I'm actually unsure of what the group is called now, but they used to be called Bishop Grandin Marching Ghosts. So that's another group out here.
mm,
And then close to Calgary in Alberta, there's another band called the Red Deer Royals. And then in Edmonton, there's a band called the Edmonton Sabres, and it's like almost about it. I'm probably forgetting something, but like yeah, there's like this kind of world of like marching band groups out here, and yeah. So within this family, in Calgary, there's like 3 bands: Roundup Band, Stetson Show Band, and Stampede Show Band. I did Stetson's. That's a high school group. I did that for 1 year, and then you audition to get into the Stampede Show Band. And I did 3 years of that. So I auditioned and got in my first time. So I did 4 years of marching band, and like it literally did change my life because like how like the family aspect of things out here. Um, I was kind of having like a hard time in my life too. Like my living situation was like kind of all over the place, and like I was having a lot of like mental health issues, and like it felt like I was always struggling. But people from the marching world like did save me a lot. They helped me out so much. Like if I didn't find marching band, I don't know where I'd be right now. I have no idea. Um, so, but yeah, it changed my world, changed my perspective, and like, you don't just like learn how to like play music and march. Like you learn like responsibility and like treating people well and like how to give back to your community and stuff like that. It's just like a lot of good skills, and like it's such a great environment to be in. It's like it's hard to imagine not me not being in that environment because it's just been such a big part of my life for like almost a decade now, and like
mm,
completely changed me. And it helps so many other people. Like everybody loves going to band. Everybody loves it so much. So like giving back is so important to me because like the bands gave me so much, and it's like I want to be able to be there for the people that need it too, who join those programs and stuff like that. And like just like music education is so great. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like so many kids value that, especially when they join marching band. They see how great it is, how fun it is, and like there's also travel opportunities. Like because of band, like I've been to Brazil and Taiwan, and like I've been to the States several times. Like yeah, like you know we do like we go overseas to like compete against other marching bands around the world. So it's like it's this huge thing. It's great. So like yeah, it's very infectious. Like once you get in, you don't want to leave. Like
Mm.
everybody loves it so much, and like so many of my great friends I've met have been purely through like marching band. Like I met the greatest people I've ever met in my life in that environment.
So
Like
great.
I can literally talk about.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's like a marching band mob family. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
It's like just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Can't leave.
yeah,
We all love it
definitely.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't sound like you would want at least something like that. If it is something that's really done well for you and like really helped you when you were in what dark places, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but very glad that you found something to help. So
Mhm.
you were talking about the championships. Like, so how many have you competed in?
Um, so I've competed in let me make sure I'm thinking about it. So two. So I've competed two championships. 2014, that was one in Brazil for this thing called WAMSB. It stands for World Association of Marching Show Bands.
Wow.
Um, so each year they kind of just pick like a new country and they're like, we're gonna compete here this year. So like that year was Brazil, and like again, any marching band from around the world can go. So like you know, two Canadian bands, Stampede Band, Stetson Show Band. We went that year, and then there's bands from Asia. There's other bands from like Brazil. There's like bands from like Germany and stuff like that. Like bands from all over the world. They'll come out to compete for this thing. And then in 2014, that was my first world championship. Um, yeah, and then the second one that I competed in was this other competition in 2016. It was called MACBITA. Um, I cannot remember what it stands for. It's an acronym, but I can't remember what it stands for. Same sort of idea, but it's purely based in the United States. Um, yeah, same sort of deal. Except, well, actually, no, not so much. It's all American, like sort of more local, I guess.
Mm.
Like any bands can come from like around America, and yes, we came from Canada, but usually that's not such a world's thing. It's like mostly America, but like
Mm.
same sort of deal. We all come out, we compete, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's good, man. Well, it's good you've been able to get to the championships and get that under your
Yeah.
belt as well. And like I said, going to like all these different countries, we have
Hmm.
something kind of similar where we have like bagpipe championships in Scotland. The bagpipes are the
Oh
big
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
and well, we get all that as well. So I can kind of understand from that
yeah,
side of it a little bit like the marching band kind of style,
yeah.
but never knew it was as widespread as that. So good on you,
Hmm.
man. Like, getting to go, like you said, to places that you probably never would have been able to get to
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
brilliant, man.
and like on top of that, for like any person like us, an aspiring musician, like if marching band is like accessible to you, like the skills you learn in marching band, you will learn it like so much faster than like what you learn in school band. Not to discredit school band, but like school band is much, it's such a slow pace compared to marching band. You learn so much more, so much faster, and
Mm.
like it all makes sense, and like there's so many reasons to like give it a shot.
Yeah, and it's the
Yeah.
same deal as like with high school with basically anything. That's your kind of starting point
Hmm.
anyway to kind of prepare you for the next step. But would you say it's like quite a big jump going from the high school bands to the marching bands? Like if you had to do that, or do you think is there bits maybe have to go in the middle, what to try and work your way up to that point?
Um, I mean, like with the system we have out here in Calgary, like Round Band is the youngest. They're junior high, so they're grade 7, 8, and 9, and then Stetson's is grade 9, or sorry, 10, 11, and 12. Stampede Band, you just need to be age 15 to 21, so um, which is pretty much just high school age and above.
Mm.
Um, so and then yeah, you gotta age out when you're 21, but it can be a bit of a big jump for a lot of people. Yeah, I mean like it usually is, but like usually people that get into Stampede Band and you know feel like they're very afraid, they easily blend into the environment. They realize like we're all learning the same skills, like we're all running at the same pace, like there's nothing to worry about, even though we're like the higher level or whatever it is,
Mm.
right? It's still a very welcoming place, and like you know, if you just do your time in like the younger bands, like, and you'll eventually get in the Stampede Band, and like it's all gonna be good, and like, Yeah, you realize like we're everybody's just like working on the same skills. It just gets at like a little bit higher level as you climb through the groups. That's all
Mm.
it is.
Oh, that's brilliant, man. Well, I'm really chuffed for you, and the chuffed for the bands as well, and giving me
Yeah.
that wee bit of knowledge that I never had. Well, every
Hmm.
day is a school day.
Yeah.
So, so tell my audience where we can find you. Where can we find what the legend that is King Fabbs? Sell, baby, sell.
You can find me pretty much most streaming, or sorry, all streaming platforms, and then most social media platforms. So King Fabbs on Instagram, King Fabbs on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Um, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, I am there. On YouTube, I have one music video so far. Check it out.
Yes,
um,
I seen the music video. I have to admit, I liked it. I liked the color schemes as well that you had.
oh yeah, thank you.
What
Yeah,
had what vibrant colors mixing in. What at points I was like, whoa,
yeah,
that's cool. It's
yeah.
like what I really liked was how they all kind of reflected off your dreadlocks.
Yeah,
Like they all kind of like bows to what was making all these different colors, which was so cool.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
definitely
I love
check out
it.
his. So give the name of the song for the music video so they can search it on YouTube.
You're looking for Safe and Sound.
Mm,
Safe and Sound on YouTube. Yeah.
yeah. So what was the inspiration behind the lyrics for "Safe and Sound"? I mean, I get it
That's,
myself, but it's for the listeners.
mhm. um, I guess you can say in a way that like Safe and Sound is like kind of like a classic love song, but the real meaning behind the song Safe and Sound, it's actually about Disney. It's
Wow.
literally about Disney. Yeah. If you just like listen to the words carefully, it's like it's literally about my love for Disney. I love Disney. It's so cool, and like it was so easy to just like write a simple song about it. So I was like, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I won't spoil alert the video, but there is a very obvious hint about Disney now that I've we've been let in on the inside scoop. But there is
Yeah.
a hint. But you have to watch the video and find out for yourself, guys. So
Yeah.
we'll find it safe and sound on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we'll round off by me asking you the final question that I ask all my guests.
Hmm.
If you could give one piece of advice to anybody that's suffering from mental health issues at this point in time, what
Hmm.
would that piece of advice be and why?
See, I have my struggles with like mental health, like even these days a lot too. And the I think my biggest problem I'm realizing is that like I don't talk about anything that's going on in my head, and like it sometimes just like kind of feels like I have no one to go to. Um, but like the biggest and probably best thing to do is like talk about it, like find someone and talk about it, talk about what's going on in your head. I think that's so important for mental release because it can really defeat you from like doing just so many simple things that you would do in a day. You find it harder to get out of bed, and like you don't eat as much, and like you're just sometimes you just sit in a chair and you're just staring into space and you don't even know why. Like it's so important to talk about what's going on in your head. So like reach out to family members and like talk to your friends, like let them know what's going on because it's so important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. I'm really sorry that you did have to go through like the struggles that you went through, but
Hmm.
I know you said sometimes you feel like you can't talk about what's in your head, but just know that if you do need to talk, you know where I am, man. What
Yeah,
is this?
absolutely.
Well, I always try and treat the show as also not only like just getting you to come on and trying to promote you, but a little bit of aftercare as well. I always want to make sure that it's like you go to like the Facebook group, for example, that I've got for that Mental Ginger show. Go on that and promote your stuff. What feel free to do it. And if you're
Hmm.
needing a wee bit of advice or anybody to talk to, I'm no qualified or whatever, like, but sometimes you just need someone to listen. And
It's true.
I'll always be there for you, man. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. I'm here for you too. I'm here for anybody out there. Anybody out there
Yep.
that's listening. I'm
Yep.
a good listener.
Yes. Well, I can definitely tell that. You've had to listen to my nonsense every now and then.
Hmm.
So we're,
Absolutely.
so we're now coming to Calgary's favourite segment, Ask Andrew Anything. This is where, after me grilling my guests for approximately 29 minutes and 7 seconds, this is where we get to put the shoe on the other foot and the Fabs gets to ask me a question. It could go really well. It could go really badly, but that's all part of the fun.
Okay.
So, Fabs, do you have a question for this mental ginger?
I absolutely have a question for you.
Fire away, man.
I mean,
Bring it on.
you gotta put a little thought into this one, okay? Tell me, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, that is a really interesting question. Really
Hmm.
interesting.
there's so many debates, but
there is a
like,
there is a lot of debate around that. It's certainly an issue of our modern times. What you
mhm,
don't I don't want to think about like COVID. I don't want to think about, all this stuff. I want to know the real questions.
yes.
Ones like, if you stay up all night, do you get morning breath?
Oh my God.
That's something that you think about. That
I haven't been
I
asked that. Now I'm gonna think about that a lot.
hmm I did try after I heard that question. I did try it, but I didn't
Yeah.
last all night. I fell asleep, and I was like, "Damn!"
Yeah.
It's like if I'd only known when I was a teenager, I would have been able to do it.
Oh yeah.
But and on the purest principle,
Mhm.
I would say that hot dog is in fact a sandwich.
It is, in fact. Do you have any reason to believe that at all?
If you
Is there
break it
any?
down to its basic construct,
Mhm.
what any type of sandwich has a bread, a
Yes.
filling, and
Hmm.
another bit of bread.
Yes.
Unless you go for triple decker sandwiches, but that's a totally different subtext for me. But
Yeah.
if you break it down, the hot
Hmm.
dog is bread.
Yes.
Eat bread.
Yeah.
So by that logic, it is indeed a sandwich. And people will probably say, "Oh, what about you get chili dogs or you adding like your ketchup and your mustard?
Hmm.
You don't add dressing to your sandwich."
Yeah.
People do.
Well,
People have BLTs, bacon, lettuce, tomato. What they have cheese and pickle. They have the most weird and wonderful sandwiches.
yeah.
So the hot dog should definitely count as a sandwich. But my
Okay.
one thing that I would want a definite hot dog changing agenda.
Hmm.
We need to be able to get hot dogs in the sandwich section of your local supermarket.
I think it makes sense. I think that
Mm-hmm.
does make sense. Yeah.
It really does. Like, I go around and I see a sandwich and I see a wrap, which is
Hmm.
essentially, again, it's some sort of like breaded device and we're filling in the middle.
It's
So if
true.
they can be there, why
Hmm.
ostracize the hot dog? The hot dog should be there. It's round in its own wee separate place and amongst the tins. They're always in brine. They're never in like the saltwater stuff. It's always brine,
Yeah.
which I never understand.
It's true.
And one thing I really envy about like Canadian Americans, the hot dogs are ginormous, man. They're absolutely they're huge. Ours are
Yeah.
maybe what if you're lucky, you maybe get like 30 centimeters, which is what basically it's just tiny. You can get foot long hot dogs over there. I remember when I
Yeah.
seen that and I was like, there's more hot dog than there is bread. My
Yeah.
life is complete.
Yeah.
This was
It's
amazing.
in, it's insane. Yeah.
It was one of the reasons why I loved early Sonic the Hedgehog, like his love of chili dogs. It was the first
Hmm.
time I ever heard about that. I was like, you can put chili, which I
Yeah.
normally have with rice, and you can put that on a hot dog.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, and
Absolutely.
one of the main things that you really need to think about is what actually is in a hot dog.
Man,
That's a rabbit. That's Alice in Wonderland shit right there, man.
I can't explain exactly what's in it, but there is a video out there of Snoop Dogg on, I think I want to say Jimmy Kimmel, and he kind of reacts to like factory food that's being made or something like that. He'll just kind of react to videos, and like
Mm.
there was a video of like hot dogs being made, and he couldn't tell until the very end when it was actually in the hot dog shape. So like only God knows what's in hot dogs. It kind of looked
Mm.
gross, like the whole process, but like people still like them. We still eat
Yeah,
them.
I still like them. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I remember getting told at one point that my granddad used to raise pigeons.
Oh yeah.
And he had like he treated them very well. In fairness, they had their own, but like they're nice wee pigeon coop, and I
Yeah.
always looked after them. Like they were very well looked after. I remember going in to feed them once when I was 6, and it was like a scene from The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock. It traumatized me for years. Well, but of
Yeah.
course, this was the 90s, so they're like, "Oh, yeah, big Jesse," and you go, "What?" But yeah, I remember my granddad was traumatizing me with that. I said, "What do you do with the pigeons afterwards, granddad?" He's like, "Oh, I put them in a hot dog." Okay,
Yeah. Oh man.
the probably is pigeon in hot dogs, but
Yeah.
it's good. I eat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the basic principle, I think the hot dog is a sandwich. It should be available next to the sandwiches in your local supermarket. We should start
Yeah.
this petition. This should be the cause in life. The podcast and King Fabbs, like and all my guests, we should all rally for the hot dog.
Yeah.
Well,
Put
if
it
not
in
for us,
comment section.
then for Sonic. For
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog, we've got to get the hot dog out there.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Fabs, you've been an absolute pleasure to have on. And I have to admit, that Ask Andrew Anything question is one of the most nuts questions I've ever had. And I'm so happy. I am so happy. Because sometimes you get like what inspired you to do the podcast? I've said it 5 times now. Clearly, you have not been listening to my podcast. But, I think the only other one I had that was most random was in a studio, and they were asking me like a hypothetical of like, would you rather live your life as a closeted homosexual or like be married to an nymphomaniac, but she was really really bad at sex. And I was like, these are the questions that I love, because
Yes.
you present a question and then I like to dissect them. I like to really dig into it. This is what me and one of my friends used to do all the time. He'd present a scenario like, oh, how much would you really need to pay to do whatever thing it is? And I'd be like, right, let's get the ground rules here.
Yeah.
And then we'd work out the ground rules, and then I'd work out a price, and then he'd be like, oh, well, you sure you wouldn't want to go for this price? I'm like, well, what are you adding on top of that?
Yeah.
But it was great. It was a great way to practice negotiating skills. I think that's why he's such a great salesman.
Yeah.
Fabs, you've been an absolute blast to have on, man. To all my listeners, please check him out. Spotify. Listen to his song Safe and Sound on YouTube. I shall try with the new technology that I have to put all the links and descriptions and stuff below, so we can check it out. But if you've not been listening to it for this long, come on, get out there, listen to him. He is one of the soundest guys in the world. And if you're listening on Spotify, go on YouTube and check out how cool this guy looks. The dreads himself, he's the epitome of cool.
Thank you so much.
So until next time, my faithful followers, I have been Andrew Durning. This has been the legend that is the King Fabbs. Until next time, take care. Stay safe.
See you.
Bye-bye.